All right, welcome, family, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles and pause, uncles and aunts. I didn't mean to get y'all excited. No, pause. We're not doing that. Uncles and aunts. Matter of fact, aunts and uncles. Yeah. Um. Welcome. Have a seat. Welcome. I appreciate you. Yeah. Get yourself right. Yeah, you got your shit right. Okay, bet. Yeah, so welcome. Appreciate you. Go ahead and tap like and go ahead and hit subscribe, please, if you don't mind me. Um and I got hopefully a gaming video for y'all, but it's already late. Do you see that time right there? 11:39. Yep. And I have to work tomorrow, bro. All right. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why did you get on so late? Well, I had to do a whole lot of getting prepared because if y'all haven't noticed in my videos, my mouth and my voice and the video screen have not been syncing correctly. So I've been in here really focused on getting that done. And I told myself when I figure that out, I'm just gonna go to sleep and, you know, post my next video tomorrow. Oh my good lord, I gotta be there at 8 a.m. Um so we're gonna change this up. I'm gonna do the gaming video tomorrow. This is how we gonna do this. But then when I seen that I had fixed it, I was like, let's just go ahead and create a video. This is how we gonna do this though. I need to actually update y'all because I need to apologize because here, right? You remember when we was looking at this and it was right here, feel me? And I was like, okay, you see, it done broke under flat tops. Okay, you tried to reject, you ain't did reject, and I see sell. I risked this and put that right. You would have lost that trade unfortunately because you know what happened. It pulled back and it turned itself back up, right? Got back right. Okay. And they say, oh, well, how can you explain this if the method is it breaks under, and usually when it breaks under or breaks above, it goes and touches the next zone. Feel me? Breaks above, goes and touches the next zone. And then this is actually a common feature to go bring yourself down and go and explode. So we should have probably picked the tendencies up of this candle patterns instead of the formation of what's going on. Right? So candle patterns do matter. Okay. Long story short, we this is just a bad call on my behalf. You feel me? Now I free scaled it on some real quick, not even really, I'm talking about, but I still said what I said and meant it. Feel me? So then we got an explosion that happens. It breaks above this zone that's actually invisible. It really doesn't exist. I've made it myself because it's a commonality zone and it's been here for a long time. And you see it's still hitting the same areas. This has not been here when this was here. I mean, this was here before this was here. So, I mean, at this point, why would I delete it? Because it keeps showing me it's still breaking in these fighting these same zones. So here I see that it broke above. We had a little fight, consolidation. Oh, we come back, retest the zone that we have now fought with. One, two. That was an explosion. That's not a fight. Three times. So at this point, you bounced off of the support. You came, you retouched it, you bounced off, you done came up here back to your consolidation area. So at this point, this is a dangerous area to be in, but it's also a very fruitful area to be in because if you make the right move here and you get in at a buy and it buys, you just piggyback your way into a nice, great grip of money real easily. But if you say a buy and it comes back and rejects and comes a retest again, you're screwed. If you say you want to sell because you think this buy and this consolidation is gonna retest again and bring back for a sell, and you know that you some news coming out that we don't know about, then yeah. And it really does that, you'll make some money. If you put a sell and that bit go up, you will lose money. You get what I'm saying? All right, I told y'all I'm gonna give y'all a detailed breakdown one of these days for the ones that care. So just comment. Let me know something. Feel me? Um, Now the video that I was gonna get into, I gotta think about it. I did tell myself I was gonna start giving y'all little freestyles, and I like the way this beat look right here. I did tell myself that. What are y'all asking me, bro? Stop. Stop asking me questions, bro. You did. I'm thinking like, should I put that tune on my voice? I don't even be knowing because it's like I don't really be knowing because I be in my mode. Huh? She was like, A.N.T, yeah, I heard you done swole. I was like, baby, I been there. You know I'm flipping bowls. You know I'm doing what I do. You better not ever fold. Better not ever told. This no joke. I been hitting both. I been hitting both like a boat. Opening up the pole. Damn, I don't want to say too much. You know we go. Huh? I don't want to say too much. I heard he told. Damn, I been about to get a young nigga sold. I been really about to get a young nigga folded. I know how I get when the little niggas polding. Gas smoking good, yeah, I really choking. Really got motherfucking motion, really got bad little bitch. You gotta watch my language, God ain't mad at me. I be doing my thing and I'm excited with it. They were like, how you feel? I was like, I'm really living, really grinning, really doing things that I can only do. She was like, I wanna come over. I was like, me too. If you wanna do what you gonna do and do it without me, cause I know just how you get it down. And I don't fuck with it. I don't fuck with that sloppy shit. But I like that sloppy hoe. Yeah, I like the way she moving up. She about to drop it slow. She about to do some things and make it move like some dominoes. She about to fall on me. Okay, she about to fall on me. Okay. Really got bad little hoes and they don't even know a thing. They was like, hold on, I fuck with him, but shit, hey, what's his name? I was like, shit, I don't know yours either, but I'ma call you my thing, and I'll call you my show, and I'ma call you my fave, and I'ma call you what I want to, cause that's just how I roll. I be saying anything just to keep afloat. If you know just how I do, then it's the fucking truth. I don't play no goddamn games, little nigga. I be moved, I be smooth.
Today I'm going to make a beat for NBA Youngboy. We're going to...
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. So, check this out, then. Hey, check this out. This is what we're gonna do. You know, I keep a backup plan in case something don't go right. You know what I'm talking about? See, I'm very experienced in the field of gamery. And when I say gamery, I mean life. Do you hear me? I've been playing on Heisman since Heisman came out, nigga, and I've only been out since '99, and I think Heisman came out way before that. Anyway, let's watch something that's interesting. You feel what I'm talking about? That ain't gonna be 400 years long, right? That we can probably get straight to the point too. I'm looking at these time periods, and it's like, okay, uh, ooh. 18, the vanishes of David Lewis. You know what I'm talking about? Of David Lewis, who was that, a pilot? Okay. 3.2 mil. Ah. Let's see what it's talking about. Hold on. First off, whoa. Okay. Pause. First off, shout out to Nexpo. You see that? Shout out to this man's. I forgot how I came across his channel, but you see, I liked and subscribe. Let's do it again. Let's do it together. Ding. You know what I'm saying? It's that easy. At least it was for me. I don't know. Some of y'all be like fighting yourself on it. Let's lock in and see what we got though. Yeah. Oh, I'm about to get it. Yo.
On January 31st, 1993, the wife and daughter of a Texas man named David Lewis would return home to discover him nowhere to be found.
Okay. That's crazy.
Soon after and across the country, an unidentified man would be spotted walking down the side of a highway before being killed in a hit and run. It would take over 11 years for these stories to converge.
Okay.
The disappearance, as you might expect, was sudden and abnormal, but shine light into the possibility that David Glenn Lewis just might have been hiding something.
Interesting. David Lewis. Interesting. What he got going there? I'm talking about. What does he got going? Let's find out. Just wow. Shout out Amarillo, Texas. I go there all the time.
Fans are going wild, and the show is about to begin. Welcome everybody to Bud Bowl 5.
Whoa, man, this place is rocking.
It was 1993.
remember this
Super Bowl
commercial.
weekend, to be exact. With preparations in place and a lively Dallas, Texas, awaiting an influx of sports fans, festivities were abundant for one of the largest sports events of the year.
I know exactly who that
On the
is.
28th of January, David's wife and daughter, Karen and Lauren, embarked on a 400-mile trip from their home in Amarillo to Dallas for a weekend of shopping in the city. The reason why David stayed behind is unclear.
Unclear, you say?
Some have stated that he wanted to record the game to a VHS, and since their VCR lacked a function to begin a recording at a set date, he had to be there in person to start it.
You're not missing
Others,
no trip for
like his
that.
wife, have made tangential statements alluding to the possibility that he had to work, since he was a lawyer. From the span of January
your own
28th to the
hours.
31st, what took place back at the Lewis home is unclear. By January 31st, though, Karen's testimony aided investigators in piecing together those missing events.
Okay.
That evening, the game was scheduled to begin at 5:30 p.m. Central. A few hours after this, around 11:15 p.m., Karen and Lauren would arrive back at the home to discover David nowhere to be found. His car was missing. There was clean laundry in the dryer. His wedding ring and watch were intact on the counter. There were 2 freshly made turkey sandwiches in the fridge. And the
Sound like a
VCR had
movie
recorded
scene.
even after the match was over. At first glance, the circumstances here wouldn't exactly raise red flags, since there appeared to be no evidence of foul play.
Right.
And so Karen assumed that he'd merely been working late or watching the game somewhere, and would return soon.
She looking for her man.
David Glenn Lewis never returned home again.
Never came home.
One day later,
Rest in peace.
his wife would officially report him missing.
Yeah, she didn't waste no time. I shout out to her. I want somebody to love me like that. Call me missing in the first. Nah, chill. Let me not even say that.
At around 10:30 p.m. on the night of February 1st, a motorist on State Route 24 in Yakima, Washington, encountered what they believed to be a man walking on the side of the road. Since it was so late, his actions were cause for concern, since it wasn't exactly common to find people hitchhiking in the dead of night. While it was hard to tell, they believed that the man was dressed in military-style clothing and work boots. Following this odd encounter, they found a safe spot to make a U-turn so they could loop back around and check up on him. When they finally managed to get back, they discovered his body, but it was lifeless on the side of the road. A Chevy Camaro was also allegedly spotted fleeing the scene when they approached him. However, attempts at catching the plate information were unsuccessful. After this discovery, they rushed to file a
93 wasn't no
report, and
cameras to
police
grab
arrived on the
either.
scene shortly after.
Ain't no cameras.
Investigations
recorded
into the
nothing.
body found that there were no drugs or alcohol in his system, and there was unfortunately no form of identification, leaving him stuck as an unidentified John Doe. The
That's
Camaro
crazy.
that was spotted was one of the only working leads, and since the shoulders on State Route 24 weren't exactly pronounced, the hit and run that took place was eventually deemed accidental, leaving the case to remain stagnant.
Cold turkey case. What else they got? Oh, stop it. Stop it. I don't know what that does, but you ain't getting me. I done took all this time, and I ain't gonna be able to profit because they ad that they threw in without my consent. Nah, get out of here.
Conversely, back in Amarillo, the investigation into David Lewis was just ramping up.
Right.
The very next day, his red Ford SUV was spotted outside of the Potter County Courts building, a mere 10 miles from the local airport. Inside the glove box, investigators were able to find his credit card.
Hold on. So wait a minute. I gotta go back real quick. Cause didn't they just say they had a person hit on the side of the road? Then they talking about they found his car. Maybe I
Cards,
heard it.
driver's
Let me
license,
see.
and checkbook in spots that Karen claims he usually keeps them. Soon after this discovery, Karen
that's
Lewis
funny.
expressed even greater concern since it was incredibly out of the ordinary for him to just up and vanish without any of his possessions or identification. It began to seem that there was a piece to the puzzle that investigators were missing.
Oh, I'm
Something
sure
that
that's
had
his
potentially
neighborhood
placed
too.
David in the crosshairs
Oh, I'm sure.
of an adversary.
Just one of his homes. No big deal.
In one of her testimonies, Karen claimed that a few weeks prior to his disappearance, her husband told her that he believed that he was in danger, but wouldn't provide any information as to what the immediate threat was. This eventually led David's family to express the belief that it could have been linked to his work as an attorney. He had allegedly been wrapped up in a high-stakes lawsuit against his former law firm, Ham, Irwin, Graham & Cox, with the wealthy client suing them for conflict of interest. A week after he went missing, David was scheduled to fly to Dallas for a deposition, determined to reveal the firm's misdeeds no matter the cost. It was noted by his father that shortly before he vanished, he claimed that he was, quote, going to tell the truth, whoever it hurts. These leads, unfortunately, also materialized nothing.
Damn, I wanted to know what Brody knew.
A few months later, a discovery was made involving David Lewis and plane tickets that he'd purchased the weekend he went missing.
Okay.
2 of them.
They just said he was gonna go to
One
Dallas.
from Dallas to Amarillo, Texas, purchased on January 31st, and a second from Los Angeles to Dallas, purchased on the 1st of February. This effectively places Lewis at the DFW airport on the 31st and at LAX the very next day. It's widely believed that he had pre-purchased his return flights while at each location, although the actual flight dates and if he used the tickets are unclear. This leaves us with 3 lingering questions though. Where was David Lewis going? How did he get to where he was without any sort of trail? And why did he purchase return tickets back home? To answer the second question, we have to consider the time period that his flights were purchased. Since it predates the 9/11 tragedy, airline rules in the US were much more lax than they are today. Back then, one could purchase a ticket using a completely different name since a valid ID wasn't required to board the flight.
That's crazy.
Of course, this is far from
Life
how things
used
are
to be
today, so
amazing.
this doesn't work anymore, but most are set on the belief that this is what Lewis had done on his flights out of town. Regarding the why, well, that's still unclear. Some have postulated that he was trying to get away from that aforementioned threat, covering up his tracks along the way. It's believed
Who?
that,
Afro
for
who?
him, it wasn't as imperative to fly under the radar, so to speak, while returning
they
home.
tripping.
But that is, if he ever planned to.
I like the little daydream animation you got right there. I don't know how he doing that, but shout out to this man. He creative with it. He take a lot of time to give us a visual understanding. He's a good guy.
By June of
Eventually,
that
we'll
year,
move up to the.
leads remained sparse as circumstantial
Then we
details
gonna-
trickled in. It seemed like piecing together
Baby.
what and where David Lewis did and went was paramount to harvesting any sort of answer on his current whereabouts and motivations. A Del Rio, Texas news publisher by the name of the Del Rio News Herald published an allocated timeline up to that point in the investigation, and while it doesn't exactly provide any definitives, it does exemplify the fact that Lewis's weekend was far from ordinary. According to the write-up,
Man, what Lewis
starting
got
on
going
Thursday,
bro?
January 28th, Lewis had left his workplace at noon, claiming he was sick. The next day, a friend spotted him rushing to the Southwest Airlines terminal at the local airport with no luggage. On Saturday, $5,000 was deposited into Lewis's bank account, with a neighbor spotting his red SUV at home. By Sunday morning, he was spotted at the court building, taking a photo of his car in the parking lot. And by Monday morning, a Dallas cab driver drove a man matching the description of Lewis from a hotel to the Dallas airport. The driver claims that, quote, the passenger seemed nervous and fumbled through a wad of $100 bills to pay the fare. Now, if we assume that all of these claims are accurate, then they hint at the possibility of Lewis paying for his plane tickets with cash to further avoid being tracked. Considering the fact that he left all of his personal possessions, including his credit card and ID at home, this, of course, makes sense. What stands out here, however, is the $5,000 that was placed into his account. unless he was allocating a substantial chunk of that for some other obligation. I don't think a few taxi rides and plane trips would come anywhere close to reaching that monetary milestone. The only explanation that could account for a sum of this magnitude would be some sort of direct deposit from his employer being wired into his account.
Right.
Considering the fact that he was a longtime lawyer, it wouldn't be far-fetched to assume that this would be the reason.
Okay.
But if that were the case, why would it at all be notable? If this were his typical pay, then it would be simple to discount it as just that: work compensation. Just food for thought. Jumping to his Dallas, Texas encounter on February 1st, I'd like to highlight something. If he were taking a taxi from a hotel to the Dallas airport, then we have to assume that he spent the night in Dallas after arriving there the previous day. Thinking back on the chain of events, though, presents a unique inconsistency. Looking back, we can recall that Lewis allegedly wanted to record the Super Bowl, and there were freshly made sandwiches in the fridge.
Yeah.
If David were to have been spotted that morning taking a picture of his vehicle at the court building, then his only method of getting back home would have been taking a taxi or getting someone to pick him up. For someone with so many extraordinary variables surrounding his disappearance, something as simple as wanting to record a football game is immensely unexceptional. The typical long play VHS tape records approximately 4 hours of footage, and the average football game is around 3 hours and 12 minutes long. If we're assuming that the VCR didn't have any sort of auto record feature, then it makes the events surrounding this that much more puzzling. Why go through the effort of dropping your car off that morning only to make it back home, going about your day, and even making sandwiches like everything's alright? Why up and vanish after 5:30, leaving behind everything you have? This is, of course, assuming that the VCR did not have an auto record function. Unfortunately, confirmation for and against this minute detail have never been released, and because of that, it's unclear whether he left that morning when he was spotted, or later that night. That sentiment largely encompassed the Lewis case investigators. It seemed that the pieces were falling in line, however substantial answers and leads to the body were mostly non-existent. Because of this, and after 11 months, the search unfortunately concluded, leaving this case to sit untouched until anything further came of it.
Game of Thrones, King's Road.
It would take over 10 years before the events that took place in Yakima and Amarillo would converge. In 2004, a Washington state detective named Peter Ditter was reading a series by the name of Without a Trace. After becoming fascinated with the topic of missing persons, he embarked on a personal journey to identify any that he could. After looking into a few and their characteristics, he eventually stumbled upon coverage of the situation that played out that night in Washington. He cross-checked the photo from the crime scene with various contenders and realized that the person looked incredibly similar to David Glenn Lewis of Amarillo. The only catch was that Lewis was known to have worn glasses, while the unidentified body wasn't wearing any when he was found. Upon further investigation into the characteristics and items that were found on John Doe's body, however, a pair of glasses were among them, effectively sealing the deal that this man was, in fact, David Glenn Lewis. But of course, this discovery would only raise more questions than answers. What obligations would David Lewis have in Yakima, Washington, of all places? Why was he spotted in military-styled clothing and work boots, attire that Karens come forward to claim are extremely unusual for him? If he had all this cash, why couldn't he grab a rental car or a taxi? We can't claim that he had drugs or alcohol in his system since those tests came back negative. So why exactly was he spotted walking down the side of a Washington highway at 10:30 at night?
Right, like what in the world?
Well, that's where everyone's stuck. Some have postulated that it could have been tied to the case he was working on against his former employer, and others have settled on the possibility that it could have been linked to a mental breakdown. If you ask me, I believe it was tied to sudden paranoia brought upon himself through that threat he alluded to with his wife. What that threat is could be tied to his work, or could be something completely out of the picture. Considering the fact that he ended up in Yakima, Washington of all places, lends to the potential that he might have been more secretive than he made out to be. But that's the thing. That's merely speculation. Something that this investigation is no stranger to. And that's where we sit. The inconsistencies and questions surrounding his disappearance are some that have gone unanswered for decades, leaving investigators scratching their heads. Unfortunately, it just might stay that way, because the only person who truly knows what played out that bizarre weekend is David Glenn Lewis, who left his entire life behind, with hardly a lead to follow.
Shout out to Nexpo. Shout out, shout out, shout out. That was crazy. I don't know what happened to him. Somebody in the comments drop what happened to him. I know you watching this done. Did you hear him? Officer. No, I'm just playing. Nah, for real though. Rest in peace. For real though. For real though. For real. Rest in peace. Had to. We know we see that quite often. You got good intention against bad folks. They seem to, you know. But as usual though, stay blessed up, but them demons catch up. Keep God in your life, the big one, not the small one that think he's the big one. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna continue to prosper, grow through what you go through, and it is what it is. You're gonna be all right. Yeah.